Tugs, despite its name making it sound like a show about masturbation, was actually a children's show about talking tugboats created by David Mitton and Robert Cardona in 1988. At the time, these two were producers on Thomas the Tank Engine, which would explain why the show looks like Thomas the Tank Engine, except with boats instead of trains. It's not as simple as that though, and there are things that this show did that were quite interesting. For example, unlike Thomas the Tank Engine, humans are only seen in the form of megaphones yelling out of windows. The story is set in the 1920s in a fictional country that kind of looks like America, but everyone has British or vaguely foreign accents. The protagonists are the Star Tugs, a group of hard-working tugboats led by Captain Star, who also narrates the episodes. I think his name might be a nod to Ringo Starr, the guy who narrated Thomas the Tank Engine and is lesser known as the drummer in some one-hit wonder band from the 60s whose name I can't remember. Our crew consists of 10 Cents, a feisty youthful hero type, Big Mac, the tough Scottish working tug, Warrior, the slow-witted but lovable big guy, OJ, the old Welsh paddle tug, Top Hat, the posh wanker who's as good at dodging work as he is at dodging tax, and Geordie newcomer Sunshine who whistles through his teeth. Their rivals are the Z-Stacks, Zoran, Zebedee, Zip, Zack and Zug, who work for Captain Star's biggest rival, Captain Zero. Despite looking like caricatures of cliché villains, these guys aren't actually evil, they're just pricks. Sometimes the two companies even work together, though the Z-Stacks always sit back and let the Stars do all the work, especially if someone's in danger. The series also has some interesting minor characters including Grampus, the Navy submarine, Boomer, the suicidal Irish tug, and Lord Stinker, the garbage barge. The stories usually involve some disaster or other that our brave tugs take it upon themselves to help avert. My favourite episode is Trapped, where an old trapper boat is blocking the river and the tugs enlist the help of batshit crazy Billy Shoepack, who's obsessed with dynamite. They end up blowing up the trapper at great risk to themselves and everyone around them, and while it doesn't send out the best message about health and safety, it sure is entertaining to watch and makes me wonder why kids' TV today can't be this well written. In fact, the show does get quite dark in places. Captain Star is known to threaten to sell his tugs for scrap when they're late for work, and there's one point where he is genuinely about to send OJ to the scrapyard because his engine broke down. He only reconsiders when he hears that the reason OJ broke down in the first place was that he was saving 10 Cent's life. The episode Ghosts would be really tense and atmospheric if you took out Captain Star's narration, and possibly the darkest episode is where Grampus casually mentions that the Navy is supposed to be blowing him up that day. Yeah, when Navy submarines reach retirement age, they just put flags on them and use them for target practice. He doesn't even seem that fazed by his own imminent death. In fact, death is something that's taken very lightly in this series. There are scenes where things like ferries and trains, which would logically be carrying passengers, sink or crash. And it's kind of glossed over as well. We don't see the people die, but it is implied that this is what happens. The annoying thing about this series is I can't find anything I dislike about it. In fact, it's got everything I'd want in a children's show: excitement, wisecracks, explosions, and things that would really offend white middle-class social justice warrior types, such as completely harmless stereotypes and Big Mac accidentally blacking up. Also, where else are you going to see Boat Cunnilingus? He has literally stuck his head in her gash. The morals that the show puts out are also quite refreshing. For example, one episode teaches kids that while doing what you're told is important, it should never come before common sense. Another episode features an Australian gangster boat who threatens Zebedee, the Scouse Z-Stack tug, into helping him with his criminal activities. Zebedee eventually stands up for himself with the help of the Star Tugs, and the episode teaches that everyone has some good in them, even people we think are bad. Sadly, the series only has 13 episodes because just before they could start shooting a second season, the company went bankrupt and this would be all we would ever see of Tugs apart from a few spin-offs. There's a theory that no matter what it is, there's someone in this world who will masturbate to it. Ironically, I think Tugs might be an exception to this rule. Who the fuck is going to want to tug themselves off to this?